Good afternoon. It's now 4:30, June 18th, 2024. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. If everyone could stand for invocation by Deputy Judge Colton Simpson and continue to stand for the pledge.
Dear Heavenly Father, we are so thankful for this day and thankful for the many blessings of life. Lord, I ask that you be with the court this evening, give them wisdom, and Lord, we just ask that you bless this community, bless each family represented, and Lord, we just thank you so much for all things, and it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Jen, if I can have you call roll.
Magistrate Humphrey.
Present.
Magistrate Coldiron.
Present.
Magistrate Riley.
Present.
Judge Chuck Dills.
Present. Moving down to item 5, approval of the regular meeting minutes for June 4th, 2024.
Having read the regular meeting minutes of June 4th, I make a motion that we approve as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion made by Magistrate Coldiron, second by Magistrate Humphrey. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Appears all in favor, motion carries. Moving down to item 6, fiscal matters. 6A is approval of the claims on the general fund, the road fund, and the jail fund, along with all transfers presented dated June 18, 2024.
I make a motion to approve the claims on the general fund, the road fund, jail fund, along with the transfers presented dated June 18, 2024.
I second.
Have a motion made by Magistrate Riley, a second by Magistrate Coldiron. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Appears all in favor, motion carries. On item B, I need to make a correction. That should be the tax rate for year 2024-2025 needs to be added to that. You all had in your packet was to accept the Grant County Local Board of Health tax rate for year 2024-2025.
I make a motion to accept the Grant County Local Board of Health tax rate for year 2024 through 2025.
I'll second.
I have a motion made by Magistrate Riley, second by Magistrate Humphrey. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Appears all in favor, motion carries. Also in front of you, I need a motion to accept the Grant County Sheriff's 2023 tax settlement as prepared by Monty Leap. She has that report in your packet.
I'm going to make a motion to accept the Grant County Sheriff's Department 2023 tax settlement that was prepared by Monty Leap.
I second.
I have a motion made by Magistrate Humphrey, second by Magistrate Coldiron. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Appears all in favor, motion carries. Next item we have is the approval of Resolution 2024-05, adopting the Northern Kentucky Ad District's Title VI policy and procedure. I'll read it in short form. Again, is resolution number 2024-05 is whereas the Grant County Fiscal Court is adopting the Northern Kentucky Area Development District, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act's 1964 policy and procedure. This is being adopted due to receiving federal funds. So I need a motion to adopt that policy.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-05, adopting the NKADD Title VI policy and procedures.
I'll second.
Motion made by Magistrate Coldiron, second by Magistrate Humphrey. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Appears all in favor, motion carries. Moving down to item E. Approval of Resolution 2024-06, adopting the Emergency Action Plan and fire prevention plan. This is a emergency exit plan that's drafted by resolution and put together for the Grant County Courthouse for evacuations for all fires, tornadoes, and location of all fire extinguishers. And the policy also dictates the training for staff within the courthouse on the operation of the fire alarms and the exit locations under OSHA guidelines.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-06, adopting the Emergency Action Plan and Fire Prevention Plan.
I second.
Have a motion made by Magistrate Riley, a second by Magistrate Codarn. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Appears all in favor, motion carries. Moving down to item F, the first reading, and this is a first reading only, on ordinance number 0006-2024-0273. And it's on behalf of Craig Pennington on a zone change from A1 to RA1 on Cason Lane. And in your packet, you'll see it's being divided into three lots that's been approved by planning and zoning unanimously. It's been passed on to the fiscal court for our approval at the second reading. Moving down to item G, we have a first reading on ordinance number 0007-024-0274. That's for John Perry and Missy Coulson on Dry Ridge Mountain Zion Road, and that's on dividing two 1-acre lots on Dry Ridge Mountain Zion Road. This is the first reading, so we'll be having a second reading on that at a later date. Moving down to H, we have a approval of the second reading on ordinance number 0005-2024-0272. It's the amendment of the court fees. This one, as we discussed at the last meeting on the first reading, it was amending that ordinance. It was based off of a House bill. Now it's based off of Kentucky Revised Statute was the only thing on the amendment.
I'll make a motion to approve for second reading on ordinance 0005-2024-0272, amending the court fees as written.
I second.
I have a motion made by Magistrate Humphrey, a second by Magistrate Codarn. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Appears all in favor, motion carries. We're moving down to item I, which I think that's why most people are here. It's going to be on the second reading of ordinance number 0004-2024-0271, the amendment of the occupational tax from 1.5% to 2.5%. And what I'm going to do is, before we even ask for a vote, I'll allow people to come up and speak. If we can try to limit our time for everyone to have a chance to speak and be respectful of others that want to speak. But I just want to go over a little bit of a summary that's what's brought us to this point, so a lot of you understand. I don't think myself or none of the three magistrates want to be up here discussing doing an increase on any tax. But inflation has affected us all personally. It's affected us at the county level. And some of the items that's affected us at the county level is our personnel. You know, we struggle to keep personnel staffed in our sheriff's offices, our road departments, our jails, just because of trying to be competitive with the other neighbor agencies. So a lot of that has taken place. Other than the inflation of the cost of doing everyday business, our roads and our bridges prices has doubled. So those are the impacts that we're taking. And we've tried, I know since myself's been in this position the last 6 years, we've tried not to increase anything. And at some point, every now and then, when these things happen, revenue is not keeping up with the expenditures. And so we've taken a look at the budget. We've cut the budget in areas that I don't even feel like we should have cut, but we did to just try to save everything we can, which has brought us to the point that, you know, temporarily for now, we're going to have to increase the payroll tax. We're looking at other avenues. We are currently looking at, and we've been looking at for the last 6 months to a year, a ambulance district. Currently, the ambulance district is being operated by the city of Dry Ridge. The taxpayers of City of Dry Ridge 7 years ago was paying for that expense countywide. In the last 7 years, the county, along with the other cities, has helped take on that burden to a cost to the county this year of over $700,000. It's nothing directed at Dry Ridge's cost. It's just the cost of operating emergency services. We're encountered with that with the sheriff's office. We've had to put on additional personnel over the last 7 years. We've had to be competitive with pay to keep that personnel because it's expensive to train them. The jail is another one. We have constitutional duties at that jail to provide certain quality of life for our inmates, whether we like it or not. And we've got to provide that, or it keeps the federal government and the state government off our backs. And our staff at the jail, as our staff at the sheriff's office and road department, are doing a great job of handling those expenses and doing the best they can with what the cost is. But it just continues to trickle down on us that we got to provide the basic services for this county. And I mean, that's what's brought us to this point. We can easily say no, we can shut down our services, but that's not what we're here in this position to do. We're here to continue to provide at least the basic services. And that, as a county, I think that's what all four of us know that we have to do as a government body for the county. This payroll tax affects all of us. The cuts that was made to the budget affect all of us. It affected all of our employees. Even though we've been trying to maintain as the schools and everyone else is with the employees, we weren't able to give any raises. I mean, we couldn't give raises if we were cutting budgets. So they're taking a negative 1% off of what their last year's pay was. And we were trying to get the pay up so we could retain staff, which is going to make it more difficult, but that's something that we're going to have to deal with. I'm hoping that some of the things that we're looking at will go across the board, will not be stiff on a lot of people, but also it'll be fairly distributed out in the county by looking at other avenues than just the payroll tax. Was anyone else wanting to speak, or want to go ahead and let the audience go ahead?
Well, we've had loss of revenues as well. When you add those loss of revenues up from factory that closed, workforce reduced at others, and some other contractual agreements, and not to mention the mandates that are mandated by the state government that are unfunded by the state government. They want us to pick up the cost. So what do? We have to do these mandates if we're going to stay in the business of being a great county. Everybody thinks that we make a ton of money off of the ARC. We don't. We don't at all. Everybody thinks that we've had a lot of wasteful spending over the past few years. We've not. The majority of the improvements that you have seen in the county infrastructure has been paid for with grant monies that were restricted to be used for certain things, and that's what they were used for. They were not wasteful spending. I've had people approach me and call me, see me in the barber shop and everything else. First thing you need to do is close that jail down. It's costing too much money. You know what? If we could, I don't think anybody in here would disagree. We'd love to be able to do it. But again, we have certain mandates that we have to do. They say get rid of state prisoners. Wish we could. Can't do it. If you want to know the reasons why, come up here and set off one-on-one, or we can have another meeting in here with everybody in here and go over the basics of running county government. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. Yes, the jail costs a lot of money, but the current jailer and the jailer prior to done an excellent job. We haven't had any lawsuits. Prior jailers to that, we're still settling lawsuits, okay? We're still settling lawsuits for the prior administrative in the jail for them. That jail was built over 20 years ago. I'm not blaming anybody for it, but it should have never been built the way it was. Plain and simple. It was built to hold federal prisoners. That was the godsend. The federal prisoners are going to pay for it. Well, we housed federal prisoners for just a little bit, and then got a bunch of lawsuits and lost all the federal prisoners. Not allowed to have them anymore. So we got stuck with a white elephant, to say. This cost us over $500,000 a year in just the payment for the building. That jail should have never been built 20 years ago, and we're still paying the price. The Department of Justice, because of prior administrations over at the jail, created some unsafe environment for inmates, where some inmates were attacked. Some of those deputy jailers went to federal prison for that. The Department of Justice stepped in, and we've been under their scrutiny for over 20 years, and we're still under their scrutiny. And we have to meet those guidelines that the federal government has put upon us and the minimum requirements, because if we don't, it's going to cost this county millions and millions of dollars over something that none of you or none of us had anything to do with, but the administrations 20 years ago did. We've got good people at the jail. We've got good people at the sheriff's office. We're struggling trying to compete with the other counties. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think we'll ever be in competition with them. When we're starting our folks off at $45,000 in a sheriff's deputy, and they can drive 15 minutes down the road and make $65,000, it's kind of a no-brainer. People's trying to survive, feed their families. We have cut things to the bare minimum and doing the best job possible. And if anybody has any ideas or suggestions or want to come up here, come on and talk to us about it. Don't be sitting at Waffle House or these other restaurants mouthing about it if you ain't got something to back it up. And I ain't pointing fingers at anybody. Everybody knows who you are. But if you got something to say about it, come up to the podium and say it. And that's all I've got.
I think another neglected revenue stream that we have had, and it's and you all have noticed it, the landfill in 2019 and 2020, that was a revenue flow a year of $450,000, and that no longer goes through our budget, and that's a big chunk to take out. Wanted to bring that up, I think, and you see it too when you want to go. You can no longer go there to even to dump your own stuff. So, you know, it's disadvantageous all the way around.
I'd like to hear from them. I
Yeah.
know I'll
Yeah.
probably have something to say.
If you could, just who wants to be first to speak? Okay. Becky, I know you, but just give the court your name so anyone that doesn't know you knows who you are.
As I get older, I get more bolder. I'm Becky Manis, and I'm representing, my husband is a Grant County employee at the high school. And I have, since you were talking about the jail, I've got friends asking me questions to ask you guys. A good question to ask is, what does it cost one inmate at the jail, and what do we get per inmate? She has heard we lose $40 a day per inmate, so curious of how that benefits us if we are losing money.
The state gives us per state inmate of $35.34. And I can tell you it's at least double that, just the cost of that.
Per day.
Per day.
And there is no mechanism to pay for county inmates because that is our obligation to house city and county inmates at the jail.
Well, she just,
That's fine.
Yep, no, that's
Yeah, no,
good.
that's great questions.
I just get phone a friend.
That's okay.
Well, the one strategy.
Becky, so you know, if we don't have a jail and we have to lock them up,
Yeah.
our options are there's no one county that will take our 40 to 50 county inmates that we have, which it's a little bit more complicated than that. Once they're sentenced in circuit court, they become a state inmate that's our prisoner. We are getting reimbursed for it, which takes our population count up as high as maybe 60 or 70. And we have to house our county non-state inmates in another jail, which counties that are doing it is having to house them in 4 different counties or 5. We would have to take prisoners to Laurel County, LaRue County, Clark County, and those fees are anywhere from $50 to $75, $80 a day. And then you have the logistics of transporting those prisoners. So there's a lot of complicated mechanisms to look at on the prisoners. But the bottom line is, as a society, we have an obligation to house people who commit crimes in our counties.
All righty. Well, I'm going to go more towards the personal people aspect. And I had a list of like businesses and that would be affected. How many employees are there in Grant County that are going to be affected?
Colton, can you?
6,500.
6,500.
I thought it would be more, because, I mean, you've got the high school, you've got the ARC, you've got all these restaurants and all that. I find that's a low number.
Becky, we don't get any money from the ARC employees.
Why not?
They're under, and that's a complicated mechanism, probably not for tonight. They're under a tax incentive that was given by the city of Williamstown years ago,
That's
which is a reverse. It was for the infrastructure to be paid for. So the employees there do pay some form of like occupational tax, but it goes back into what they call a TIF, a tax incentive fund.
With this, that you're proposing, the Grant County school system is going to, their 1% raise is null and void. Williamstown, they're okay. They got 9%, so they'll go down to 8%. And that, and
Did they get
They didn't get
9%?
that high.
it's 9%, yes.
I was thinking it was 3, but
No,
I think they would love that. I think it was.
no, it's on their Facebook page.
Huh.
And everybody's sharing, you know.
Okay, well, that's
Or sharing
awesome
it
if they
in
could do
that.
that.
So how much is all of this tax thing brought to the county, and why are we in such a pickle?
Well, as the judge indicated, from inflation, the cost of materials, cost of goods, from a competitiveness standpoint, trying to increase salaries of people who work for the county, adding road deputies, adding school resource officers to the school, infrastructure upgrades that have taken place in this community, the EMS cost that the county contributes.
So we, the little people, kind of have to take the brunt of it.
No, because there's occupational tax is one form of revenue that's generated. Then we have property taxes. The other avenues that we're looking at that can't be implemented quickly enough is the ambulance district that the judge indicated, so that could free up close to $700,000 later that's in our general fund if a new revenue stream is created, a
if you-
different taxing
right.
district to do
If
a
you
more.
do this, then how much will this gather? We'll still be in the red, or we'll be a little bit above?
well, the goal is to get above so we can operate.
So this 2.5% will get us above?
Yes,
By
And-
how much?
Peggy. Our treasurer, Peggy, is here with us. She's talking about the end.
Well, what we have now and that you can't operate on or whatever, and that this increase, how much money, revenue is that going to generate?
the end.
generate about $2 million more than last year.
Yeah, and the schools don't get it.
Anyone else? The increase, 2 million.
In revenue for us.
Gene, if you could tell the rest of the court your name?
Gene Nelson, I have one big question. Why do you hold meetings at 9:30 in the morning and 4:30 in the afternoon when most people are working?
Our meetings
It
are,
makes it
Yeah.
makes it look like you're hiding something. A lot of people didn't know about the first reading.
well, our
You know-
normal regular meetings twice a month is 4:30. If we have special meetings, a lot of times special meetings they're noted and advertised, and then we may have them at different times depending on, but we don't have that many special meetings.
A regular
And-
meeting at
well, Gene-
4:30, most people aren't off of work.
And we used to have our meetings at 6:30, and the gentleman sitting here on the second row is the only person that's ever at our meetings.
Well, I know it's hard. You only get people coming when it's bad.
Yeah.
I'm in the same predicament. I'm on the school board.
And we recognize, one benchmarking, county government, city governments, they meet at different times. There's no, statutory requirement of when to meet. And when we were in these positions for, several years, no one came, and it was more so on behalf of the staff that run the meeting so that they didn't have to go back home. But the reality is this, is I get it. Perception could be perceived as reality, that it looks as if you're trying to, pull the rug out from under people, and that's not at all what the intent is of us for how many years we've been meeting at 4:30, to the point where we've asked the judge. I've heard out in the community that people think you're meeting at inappropriate times. Well, we've asked him, move them back to the evening immediately, and I believe that he's going to honor that, because I don't want that. That's not the type of integrity that any of us have, is for anyone to think that we're doing something inappropriate or at an inappropriate time. And if that's what the community wants, if that's what we've heard, we're going to revert back to that.
Yeah, I'm just saying, that's, I think, one of the biggest mistakes you have made.
Well, consider that one adjusted. Duly noted, and consider that effective.
Well, and effective the next meeting, which is 4:30, the one that's going to be at the second, because we got to change our administrative code
To allow us to go
I
back.
understand.
allow it. So, I mean, it's not that
Not the
easy.
next meeting, but the second meeting.
Yeah, I understand it. I've been through it too. But I just think the general public looks at it. I've sat through meetings, ours is at 6 o'clock, and nobody comes until tax day and other things else. But you've got to give them the chance, even though you don't get that much.
And duly noted, we heard the feedback that was the perception, and that wasn't our intent for the last several years we've been underneath that. But Gene, that will be adjusted.
I appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keith?
Just got a couple of questions in general. I know what it's like when it comes to inflation. So,
Yeah, your materials of steel to redo our bridges.
who has final say on our spending? Is it you, or do the magistrates have to approve that?
Depends.
Well, it depends. I mean, our budget's approved by all of us, and once the budget's approved, then if departments want to spend certain amounts, it goes through me.
Okay, but really then final say comes down basically to these three? Because if they don't approve it, it's not going to get done. Am I
Right.
correct?
Well, and the
Well-
budget is only what you project your expenses to be in addition to your revenues.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm familiar with budgets. Believe me, I've run a business be 40 years
Right.
next year.
40.
So I know how to manage money. You can't spend more than you make.
Right.
Second question I have, I'm sure there's up to a limit. Can't you just spend, do you have a limit on what you can spend without approval, or how does that work?
Well, I'll approve the line item if it's like over 500 or so, or if it gets up a couple $1,000s, depending on what it is. And I mean, if it's a part that's not uncommon, $4,500 for a part for the road department. The road supervisor would contact me to let me know that part, and then I would check with Peggy to make sure that we're okay in that line items to purchase that part.
Trust me, my questions are, I hope I'm being positive with this time.
Yeah.
Does it take two people to sign on anything we spend?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Now, the other thing I want to point out, that you said about 6,500?
Could be more.
Roughly, yeah, I understand that.
Roughly.
But that's impacting about 25% of the people. In our population, 26,000.
About 25,000.
So, that impacts about 25% of the people are absorbing the blunt of this.
Correct.
So a lot of people are paying nothing to get the same benefit, if there is any benefit.
Right.
And that's why we're researching other forms of
Absolutely.
revenue
Right,
that we could legally do and be fair to all.
right. I understand
Believe
that.
us, but
And I mean, trust me.
We're all sick over this.
I understand. Where it bothers me is just like I have an employee that drives from Georgetown. I've made this. He gets off interstate, goes to work. He uses our roads, a state road, for 2 miles a day.
Right.
So naturally he's taking a pretty good hit. I just wish there were some other avenues. I'd rather pay it myself than have my employees have to pay it. I know how hard they work.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's a tough situation when you ask 25% of the people to absorb the most of that.
That's-
I know
that's
there's
why
other
we're-
avenues I'm not going to bring up, 'cause I'm afraid you'll put both of them in.
No, no, our goal, and I think I'm speaking for all four of us, our goal is to try to get these others implemented fairly quick so we can dial this back. Because it affects all of us.
All right, then another question, if this, I'm assuming I know it's going to pass, but when that's said and done, is the county still going to have to borrow money on top of this?
We'll have that discussion if we'll need to borrow to get us through the fiscal year because taxes are not collected by the sheriff until October, and then we don't receive the money until the 10th of November. So,
Taxes. But I mean, the payroll tax is an instant.
yes, it's done
Well,
quarterly.
though.
But this wouldn't go in, we wouldn't get this until the next quarter.
Do you feel like as a group that we're going to have to borrow money?
There's the possibility.
There's a possibility.
It's a 50-50 chance right now.
Really?
With the way the inflation is continuing to go,
And I
Because
know
some
where you're
would have
at,
said, here's the reality, Keith. Some would have said, you should have did this last year. And I come from the mentality of, no one ever wants to raise taxes. I certainly don't want to raise taxes any sooner than we have to. But there's been so many factors that have contributed to this over a lengthy period of time, as far as things that have rose, where the cost has increased. And then we factor in other factors, such as the landfill, such as, that we lost technically $500,000 that we've not seen in this county budget year over year for
2019.
since 2019, 2020. So almost 5 years of $500,000 that was wiped clean.
It adds
And we
up.
never did anything different. And then when you also weigh in the fact, people talk about the jail, and when Ms. Manis talked about state inmates, one would say, put as many state inmates in there as you can to generate additional revenue. Well, that's not also as easy because you got to have staff. The staff has to be trained. They need to be available. The inmates need to be available to increase revenue. So that's another area where historically in this community, we've lost revenue because the jail has not been as occupied as it previously has been.
Well,
but we've also,
obviously, yeah.
right, and we've also
And that's
invested.
because of COVID.
Right.
Yes.
Invested in positions, invested in paying them more so that it is adequately staffed and safe. And then we also have, another avenue where we've lost revenue from the city of Crittenden that no longer partners with the interlocal agreement from a cost share standpoint for our county road deputies to supply coverage down there. So that's been about a $300,000 annual hit. But guess what? We are still statutorily required to respond whether they pay us a dime or not. But historically, that's been built into this county budget. So we've got, a combination of things that have happened that's led us to this. But at the same time, we also know that we're looking at other revenues to help not have this as high for any longer than it needs to be, but the other avenues are going to take time, like the ambulance district that needs to be implemented because I want to get this community better positioned of what, the contract looks like, what the service looks like, but we need to have a way to pay for it. And right now, for 7 years, our county contribution has came from the general fund, which means we have less money to give to employees, less money to give to materials and equipment, and so just a whole combination of things.
But two things then that I think are obvious. I have no doubt that our deputies are underpaid. And I'm not a big proponent of cops. I get along better with them since I got older, but they are underpaid. I know that. I wouldn't go do what they do for the money they make and the chance to get your head blown off.
especially in this day and time.
But, so that's a tough situation there. But it's obvious that the jail has just drained this community over the years. You have to do something whether you want to or not.
And
I love my
we
cousin to
need a
death.
little
He
bit.
brought that jail in, and I could kill him for it.
This is the same thing that's happening over every small
time.
jail in the state of Kentucky. It's not just our problem.
Pinnacle County doesn't have a jail.
Yep,
Yeah.
and they house them
they
somewhere.
have
But
them,
their
yeah.
prior folks didn't decide to design a jail that probably isn't conducive to a better layout, a better staffing plan.
But if it's non-productive, if I have a machine that doesn't make money, I shut it down and get a different machine.
And we have been looking
I know
at
it's different in government. I know that.
Well, and for that institution, because that is on a lot of your all's minds as far as the county jail. And we have continued, to look at pros and cons of, do you go county only? Do you look at another avenue of housing our prisoners elsewhere? And as the judge indicated, right now, there is no surrounding counties that could take our county obligation to where we could pay them daily. I wish there was. Some would say, try it. Try something different.
Well, if we got the county only, I'd be tickled with that.
Well, the thing about the county only is you still got your fixed assets, and that's,
And the jail's not adequately designed in an easy way to shut down and only operate in a blueprint. You've got Class Ds in the back that do laundry all the way in the back. You've got food that's cooked in this opposite end. Then
But-
you've got security cells in another opposite end. It was poorly designed that we get to inherit trying to operate in it.
But if
We're
you
still
look-
paying the
now.
mortgage on
But
it.
if you look at
Keith.
what we're losing on it,
oh. Well, another
Here's the
thing,
thing, I'm not even worried about losing money per se in that avenue, just trying to get to a better break-even point or spending less county taxes on it, because no one wants to spend money on
it's not
inmates. We
going to.
get it.
Yeah, trust me, 4 years from now, it won't be any better.
Oh,
I
no.
bet you it's not. So you better,
well,
you need to do
it
something.
will be better 4 years from now because the payment will be paid off.
The half a
Well,
million dollar payment
I mean-
will be paid.
You
We're
know.
paying $500,000 on a mortgage on it
Right,
still.
right.
Through
But it would still-
2027 is,
That's the least of your worries.
Yeah,
yes,
If
it
you- by
is,
the
it
time
really
you pay that,
is.
You'd still be money ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we said too.
agree.
But-
Because
Great.
the
Now,
mechanical
one other
thing.
question, and I know, did we get $4.1 million for COVID? Did you
Yeah.
kind of get that?
A
Well,
little over 4, wasn't it?
yeah, it's a little over 4 million.
A little over $4 million. And I'm sure a lot of that's earmarked. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yes,
where it
that-
all went, but I'm sure it was earmarked.
I'll
for
tell you where
something.
90-some% went was repaving roadways that were deteriorated
Yes.
bad.
What about our county park? Did it go towards that or not?
Yes.
Okay.
What, COVID?
What, the infrastructure, some of the infrastructure monies
Yeah.
was.
Yes, it may be. Yeah, we had redone the kitchen to make it a rental venue.
Okay.
And then
Well,
there-
There was
It was
a-
very little bit of the 4 million though, but
I know you're up against it.
we-
It's hard, but,
we've had roads paved out of that ARPA money that have not been paved in years.
Well, 20 years.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Years and
Then
years.
I will end on this.
That's okay.
I know we're looking at a couple other different things to generate
Yes.
revenue. We don't have a lot of industry here. We could use more.
Yeah.
Right.
Be careful what you put in, that it doesn't do something that deters somebody from wanting to come out here.
Right.
What-
Put in the wrong type of tax and tell a company, oh, yeah, come on out here and join us, but you're going to pay this much money. They're not coming.
Keith, I'll agree on that, and I'll go one step further. Years ago, when Grand County Food started coming in here, they gave them all these tax breaks and incentives to come here to Grand County. As soon as all those incentives ran out, they're gone.
Yeah.
So I'm not for giving a bunch of incentives to somebody out here for a 20-year period, put it on somebody else's shoulders
Right.
down the road. Another source of revenue that we see to help pave roads is from the gasoline tax, road tax. Well, our great governor is reducing
Right.
that tax in July. Everybody thinks that's the greatest thing in the world. What's going to pay for your roads? That's what that money is designed for, is to pay for your roads. And now we're losing money on roads. So, and we've got roads out here that are about like goat paths.
Oh, I know.
And it's not an easy job
Right.
by any means.
Okay.
Especially not easy when you inherit so many things from decades ago that we're still having to deal with.
Well, I think we're behind the times.
We are. We very much are. You can ask the jailer there. When he goes to hire somebody or interview people, he'll call in 5 or 6 people to interview, and how many actually show up? Nobody wants to work.
And again, it's about,
Yeah, and we pay good money. I'll be honest with you. That's not the best in the world, especially in today's times, because the dollar doesn't go as far today as it did 5 years ago or
Okay.
10 years ago. We all know that.
appreciate it. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you, Ron. Keith, I mean,
She called you Ryan.
second generation.
He didn't hear you.
Hello, I spoke last time. My name's Ben Webster. Last time we talked, obviously, me and Jacqueline brung up the fact that self-employed businesses, like her husband, Stanley, can you tell me how much them kind of businesses pay since they don't have a W-2?
They, so if you are a county operating business, any contractor, regardless, you have a business license to pay. Where today our occupational ordinance only is subject to W-2s, which that net profit tax is an idea that was presented to us. Would we want to pursue that on behalf of this community as you look at doing a fair share balance of generating revenue?
So what is
$25, man. I think that's
sorry,
what
I
you're
didn't answer
asking.
the dollar
That's-
amount.
that's-
$25.
that's the
Yeah.
exact answer I was
Yes.
looking for.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so
Currently, and the schedule was looked,
It goes up based off employees.
And how many
Yes.
employees you have at that institution.
so my only thing is, so that person or individuals pay $25 a year. So that money does that money go the same place my money's going?
yes,
Okay.
to the county general fund.
So last week, I pulled my pay stub up, my paycheck stub up, because I knew that answer, but I wanted you to answer it for me.
Duly noted.
Mine last week was $26.72 for 1 week. Does anybody see a problem with that?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
do.
absolutely. So between my county tax year to date right now is $500, and that's going to go up. My city tax, Dry Ridge city tax, because I work for Dana, $400 year to date. I'm just curious, how do self-employed businesses owners work in the same county, drive on the same road, and they pay a significant less than someone that has a W-2? And how are you wanting us to take even more from us without even, I'm not saying, I know you're looking into it, but the easy thing to do is 6,500, get them first. It's aggravating, If these dues do pass, will there be a cap? I brung this up last time. I think I wasn't ready for I did some homework. So I wasn't ready for, I talked to some people, did some research. So is there going to be a cap? Boone County, and I know we're not Boone County, we're behind the times, I agree, I did like his comment, he said, I'd rather pay it for my employees. I never thought I'd hear an employer say that, but props to him for saying that. But Boone County, I'm not, I looked this up, got it from a few business owners in Boone County. An employee in Boone County, their cap per year is $601 they pay per year. Are we aware of that?
Yes.
Do we have a cap?
No.
Why not? Why? Let's just say last year I think I played roughly almost $2,000. Roughly, maybe a little less than $2,000. Yes, you could figure it out. I work some overtime, this and that. I think it should be a fair share. I shouldn't have to pay double. I'm not saying there has to be a mechanism put in place, because I know not everybody makes the same money as me, as where some people make more money than me. But there has to be a mechanism put in place. Because I know this is going to pass regardless of what I had to say and what this people behind me have to say. But no one person should have to pay, a big chunk of their check a year versus, like the guy said before me, there's several people at home not paying a dime, driving on the same road as I do, going the same park I'm going to, enjoying the same luxuries as me and not paying a dime, or $25. I'm not trying to be a pain, because I have a lot of friends that are, but I think everybody should do their fair shake. So I'm just wondering, is that something we can propose, something we can come to a consensus on, as far as a cap? When somebody hits a threshold of, like I said, I've already paid $500. If I was in Boone County, I'd have $100 more to pay, one more month, and I'm done. I don't got to pay taxes for the rest of the year.
We're not in a position at this point to put a cap on it. I agree with you. And Boone County does have a cap. Their payroll tax is lower. They have all the infrastructure there on the property tax.
So maybe we should go sit in one of their meetings.
Yeah, 100 times greater than us. But that's why, as they're saying, we're looking quickly at these other mechanisms.
I
to help
understand. I
relieve
understand that quickly. You know, and I keep saying, you know, we're looking at it, but why are we at this point? You know, how did we get here without, you know, looking at that? You know,
Well,
It's stop getting all the workers in Grant County, you know, the W-2 guys. I like saying that because it's just the fact that that's how we was brought
well,
up.
none of us have an appetite to increase tax. We don't have an insurance tax. The county does not have an insurance tax. The other counties do. I mean, we're fortunate we haven't had to put those taxes on. Everyone's insurance premiums went up, and none of us have an appetite to increase a tax until we foresee that it's going to have to happen. Now what we're doing is trying to make it, as Keith Kimmon said, spreading that out so it doesn't only affect 25% of the population.
Yeah, you know, 25%, like he was saying, you know, that's, you know, a lot of, he just said one of his guys drives from Georgetown. You know, I would say 80% of Dana employees don't live in county.
Right.
You know, we got Owen County, we got Pendleton, you wouldn't believe the amount coming from Cincinnati, you know. And, you know, it's just, I just really think that, you know, going forward is, you know, you all representing us. I think we really need to look at a cap for people because, I mean, you know, or the way we get taxed because, you know, like I told last time, we just got a raise and just like the school board and to get wiped out. Me and my wife both work in the county. She works for school, I work at Dana. You know, that's a double whammy on both of us, you know. So, you know, I know every county pays, you know, occupational tax. I get it. But I think there has to be a cap per household, cap per person. I think we need to look at that. You know, because everybody has to say we know what's all going to pass. You know, you know, we're not for it. But as a closing statement, I would like to say that along with many others, we do not want to see this increase pass. However, if it does, then a cap should be put in place. And furthermore, something needs to be done where self-employed business owners, whether landscapers, barbers, contractors, whatever it might be, pay their fair share for the occupational tax. After all, they work in the same county and drive on the same exact roads and enjoy all the luxuries of the county as I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Lou.
Hi, my name is Diane Mincarelli. Before I retired, I did a lot of traveling in my corporate job. And I was wondering, here in Grant County, do we have a mechanism to capture added income through people traveling here for tourism? For example, it used to show up on my hotel bills as a value-added tax. And so no matter where I went, there was this extra tax on my hotel bills. It was called a value-added tax. And although I wasn't a tourist when I was traveling for work, it was a tax that was levied against everybody that was traveling through the area or staying in the area. And I wanted to know, do we have existing some type of tax that we're capturing through
Yes.
hotels and our short-term rentals?
Hotels and Airbnbs are being taxed on a transient room tax.
And
And that-
campgrounds. And campgrounds.
And campgrounds. That mechanism is collected by the court, by the Colton Simpson with the Grand County Fiscal Court. We get 3%, the county does, for that collection rate. And that's restricted funds for tourism to promote tourism in the county.
Why is that restricted funds?
The state is restricted.
Statute.
The statute's restricted at state level, where that's how those funds. So the tourism has done a good job to help offset, I know, not only the county's general funds, but also the cities, where they put playground equipment. When you see new playground equipment being put at the park, or the disc golf, that's how that's been paid for with the tourism dollars through, and there's a board that operates the tourism funds.
And it's 3%. So every nightly stay, 3% is to be turned over to Mr. Simpson, and he is able to then, of that large pool that's turned in from Airbnbs, hotels, and campgrounds, the county is able to retain 3% of that.
How much approximately was that for this last fiscal year?
This last fiscal year was somewhere right around $770,000.
That's a big chunk of change for,
And so
Yeah.
then to the judge's point, we have an active tourism board that makes decisions on how to spend that restricted fund. But in a simple way to say that those tourism dollars is to be spent on generating more tourism. So you could do beautification, you could do activities, concerts, park equipment, those types of things. So things that tourism could benefit from. This gal would like to petition to the state to modify to allow the county to keep more of those restricted funds for roads and public safety because your communities
Yes.
are having more people come in. But today, that mechanism is mandated by the state on how to be spent. But I've spoke to some legislators to see if there's a way to allow us as the county to retain more of that money.
And that's not common across the Commonwealth, just because we have the Ark is why we're bringing in that type of tourism money.
I understand, but that also creates a tax on our roads and our infrastructure.
Absolutely.
And that's, as
Which-
Jacqueline said, that's
Yes.
what we would love to see.
So can you put an extra tax on just for, can you create another tax at the municipality level?
We can refer to the county attorney if you can off the cuff answer that. Yeah.
Is that something that you're going to research?
We're researching every avenue we can, plus things you didn't even mention that we can attract off of tourism.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Johnny?
Good evening. My name's Johnny Filippo. I'll be brief. Early on in the discussion, you had mentioned that this has the potential to be temporary. When would this tax time out and revert back to the 1.5%?
I can't give an answer, and I'd be afraid to because I'd like to keep my word. I can't tell you it'd be 12 months, 18 months, but I assure you that we want to get this scaled back as quick as we can.
Maybe ballpark idea?
No, not until we figure out the rest
Can
of
we
the...
put a limit on it and then revisit after a year or two?
We're going to be revisiting this on the weekly, monthly, quarterly. Someone had asked me, is this going to be an ongoing thing every year that you're increasing occupational tax?
Right, I'm just asking because
Yeah.
it's fair for taxes to be reverted.
Right. Like, when would we revisit it? I think due to the where we're at, I would think realistically it's looking at it every quarter. Are we ready yet to dial that back? And, what does that look like? Not waiting a year from now to revisit this.
I think right now the budget that we have is under such tight constraints that it's like I've developed a cash flow chart to see when the money's coming in. And if it's coming in as expected, that's fine. But if it doesn't, then it puts a ringer in it. So the biggest thing right now is to hold our budget cycle as it is and see how it's flowing.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny.
That is a good one because folks are curious at what point.
Anyone else?
Sir, I do want to add one thing. It wouldn't matter if someone come in here today, I know you know this, but knowing it and doing it's different. If someone come here today and make $10 million down for us, if we spend $11 million, it's still going to be $1 million, and I won't be asking taxpayers to pay more money. We've got to figure out a way to cut things where we don't spend more than we have. I don't care what business you're in, whether it's government, private, or whatever, you cannot spend more money.
But it's easier to say, and I mean, I've worked in the private sector along with the government sector. When you have services to provide with unfunded mandates and constitutional requirements, it's not that easy. As a business, you up your price on your product is one of your avenues to do, and as a business you can do that. We don't have anything to up a price on. And, I mean, we're awarded whatever we're allowed through the state, and as they said over here that, they dialed the tax down on the fuel. I mean, we all see the pumps, and our taxes at the pump, you don't even really notice what the state tax is. We notice it when we're $150,000 short when that bridge now that was $178,000 is costing $340,000.
And I know government's totally different.
Yeah.
No doubt, it's like the school. You gotta spend so much you get, if you don't spend it, you lose. But I do think, as an individual, yourself, and the three magistrates, if you look at everything that's going on, surely we can come up with a couple of those that we can cut back.
I think when we look at that, the next thing, if we would have to cut back, you're talking into safety.
Positions.
Yeah.
Safety and, you're talking about your police force. You're at that point. And I don't think we want our county to see that. Please.
Well, the jail is the same thing as the law enforcement. We've got statutory obligations that we have to provide, or we go to jail.
You don't think there's been any jails in the United States that's been shut down?
There's been many.
Yeah.
At the same time, Department of Justice has come in on top of those, has closed down and fined those counties millions of dollars.
I tell you what's happening.
That's what we're under right now. Unfortunately, we're under mandates with the Department of Justice because of stuff that happened in that jail 20-plus years ago.
I know that.
And they're watching us every day. And they send us mandates once a month. You got to do this, you got to do this. Our health care is over $1 million in that facility.
1.2.
Our prescription medications are $150,000. You know, the cost of the jail, and nobody, and it's no different anywhere. Wherever there's a jail, it's a whole lot of money going into it. And if we could all sit here today and say, let's close her down today, the jailer right there, I'd say, he'd probably say, amen, let's do it. I'd say everybody in here would be tickled to death to close it down. But unfortunately, we just don't have that luxury. Every time we look at an avenue to possibly do something to the jail, we find out from the Department of Justice or somebody above us saying, no, you can't do that.
Let me ask you this. Do you know what we lost on the jail last year?
How much money we lost on the jail? A lot.
How about
You never-
ask you don't ever
You-
make
you
money.
never
It's
make
how much
money.
money
Never
did
make
it
money.
cost
There's
you to run
You
it?
never
There-
make money
you
in
don't
a
make
jail.
money in
You
jail.
don't
That's-
make money.
Troy, are you wanting to speak? Okay.
Yeah.
Troy Hagedorn's our jailer. Hey, if you could go up
Would
to the
you speak
mic,
to the
Troy,
mic?
I'm sorry.
I'm going to try my best.
Well, you have an online audience that's
Everyone.
going to want to hear this too.
Talk to
Yes.
everyone. All right, first I'm going to start with the negative connotations about that jail. You have a workforce over there, folks, and I'm talking to the court as well, that you got to remember.
You can't hear
Okay,
you.
you got to remember a workforce. Okay, 1987 that jail was built. That was the first mistake. It was built 28-bed facility, total burden to the taxpayer. Do your homework. Okay, total burden to the taxpayer. Made zero revenue. Mechanism wasn't there to have revenue. Okay, fast forward, 2000-ish. Jail was added to try to generate and offset the burden to the taxpayer. That was the reason behind it. And I agree, it went south. And we never really recovered from it. We've had other administrations we'll never recover from. No names, but we won't. Mr. Webster did a heck of a job. I think I'm doing a good job. Folks, your number one job is to provide services, number one. Period. This isn't the private sector. Okay? You don't have the luxury of deciding not to have this, not to have that. You've got to provide services. And I'm looking at a base of people here that's small, but it's larger out there who have not only come to expect a level of service, you demand it. You've demanded it. I get it. And I'm talking to a bigger base of people, not just you folks. You took the time to come and speak tonight, and I appreciate it. I wish some of you who have specific questions for people would come. Our door's open. We'll try to articulate the best we can. It's kind of hard to do it off the cuff like this. But to come and sit and talk about the jail and the facility and how it's designed and what we're doing over there, would love to have the opportunity to do that. But when I sit back and I hear that jail, the whale in the room, the elephant in the room, that's a problem, folks. I can't get over that. If that is the mindset, there's more to that facility than that. We're providing a service. And there's a cost associated with that. Unlike the private person or a business owner. I'm a private person. I have the luxury of not going on a vacation, not driving a new car. Those are choices I make as a private citizen. But in government, Unfunded mandates, heard that? Yeah, running rampant. From the feds to the state, call your legislators. I don't know why you guys haven't jumped up and down to the legislators in your associations and band together with other associations and held your legislators accountable. They're doing unfunded mandates. Hey, county, here, you shall do this. Oh, by the way, we're not funding it. Good luck with that. That's how it goes. We all know that. So be very cautious. Tread lightly when you say things like that jail, the jail. You have a workforce over there who are ready to walk out, and I don't blame them. God help you if they do. Get ready to raise your right hand. I'm swearing in. Somebody will. I'm telling you, they're doing a good job. We've made strides. And it's all negated the minute I hear that jail, the jail. And it's hard not to get sucked into that. It really is. No, I wouldn't agree to close it, Roger. I wouldn't. Because we've got to have it. It's here. It's been invested in. That investment has been made long before us. In 1987 was the beginning of the investment going south because it was a total burden. Third floor. Some of you may not have been up there. It was about 28 beds.
How many years ago?
87.
Yeah.
But it was a 28-bed facility, and they built a 28-bed facility. So that was the beginning of the problem. Some people don't realize that. That was the beginning. Some will argue the point of whether the other one should have been added to, but the premise behind it made sense. It just went south, unfortunately. I can't emphasize it enough. We've got a workforce over there that's got to hear these comments and try to work through this stuff, and it's not going to last long. It's really not. I'm trying my best to hold things together and keep doing things and be proper at doing them, because there is a level of care, a constitutional level of care we've got to provide, and we damn well will, period, no matter what it takes, because I don't want DOJ in my house. I do not. And I definitely, if they're in my house, I don't want it to be valid. I don't want anyone to be successful in a lawsuit. Lawsuits happen. It's going to happen. I was fortunate in my 34 years to get sued one time, unsuccessfully. I'm proud of that. I was a hardcore, hard-nosed cop. Everyone knows I did my job. I'm proud of that. But I will not hold this position and take on the liability without the support. I will not. It's not worth it to me. It's not. I'm proud of my career, and I'm doing the best to hold it together, but it's not working. And I've already put the Corps on notice. I don't think it will stay. I got a workforce out there that hates to hear that. I'm proud of that, because I've only been there a little over a year, and I've got that kind of support. So what we've been able to do, we've been successful at. However, we've hit this brick wall, and that jail, I know I said that, that jail didn't get you in this position right now. Today. If you think it did, your head's in the sand. It did not. Okay? Now, I've said a lot of things. I just ask you to be very cautious, tread lightly, and let's approach things differently when we talk about the jail. Okay? Because we got a workforce, man, that have lived through this, through so many administrations, and they're tired of it. You can't close it. I know that's the first thing, knee-jerk reaction. You can't. Folks, the numbers have run. My chief deputy is the sharpest you'll get in the business. The sharpest. I'm telling you. If I were to stay and finish, they'll know far more than I ever will. 20-plus years, that brain trust, that admin team that I've got. They know corrections. They've crunched the numbers. They provided the numbers. And they are what they are. Okay? And at the end of the day, there's a cost associated with doing business. I'm a taxpayer. I ain't going to like it either. And there's going to be a day that I'm not going to work again. And I'm going to be that taxpayer. You know, I pay the school system. Don't have no kids in it anymore. But you know what? Somebody paid while mine were there. It is what it is. Now, I think most courts I've dealt with, my opinion, 34 years, guys, have been very frugal with the taxpayers' dollars. Everybody talks about cuts, cuts, cuts. In Grant County, that has been my whole career. The solution to the problem has been cut. That's the, hit it right in the head. It's not fun. Oh, God, we got to cut, we got to cut. Well, guess what? Who gets cut? law enforcement. I'm telling you right now, I don't know everyone in here, but I know a handful of people well enough that I'm going to throw this out there. And I know a lot of people out in the community who I'm going to describe. The very people complaining the most about things are the very people who would complain if they didn't have the sheriff's deputy show up to their house and solve their crime. Or that inmate was let out of jail. How dare they just broke into my house and I'm a victim of a crime and they're out? By God, they went to jail then. To count on a volunteer firefighter to put your fire out in this day and age is wrong. I applaud volunteer firefighters, but it's wrong. We're in 2024. It's wrong. Now, at what cost? Where do we draw lines? I don't have that answer. I don't. But, and I realize the working force is getting hit here, and it's a select group, and that stinks. Trust me, I know. But take a breath, because there's a whole other caveat to these things. There is. And that's what I ask you to do. Just take a breath, because I'm telling you, you are the very folks, the body of people that want these services, and not only want them, you've demanded them. I fielded, when I retired at the sheriff's office, I fielded so many questions at my desk about why isn't my crime solved? Why isn't my this solved? Well, I had to educate them a little bit. How many people do you think we have? And then I tell them, you got that many? Yeah, and by the way, they worked your burglary, and they had 3 accidents to work after that. Man, it's just, you do the math. That doesn't work out. And it stinks to tell a victim. I was honest with them, candid with them. You know, if Keith would have called me and said, man, I got burglarized. I'd come to Keith, about workers burglary, and say, Keith, give this to your insurance company. Give it to Tim. In all candor, that's what I would have to say and say, I don't know what I can do with this. I got 5 more waiting on me. That's an injustice. That's what he's up against. It's an absolute injustice. And then people were in an uproar, mad because the crime wasn't investigated properly. 100% agree. Or they're mad because the fire took so long to get there. Or they're mad because the inmate's out walking and not serving time after they've been victimized. I've said a lot. There's a whole lot to this. There is. It's not going to get solved in one night. But I just ask that err on the side of caution when you talk about the jail, because there is a workforce out there that's doing a good job, a stellar job. And I'm trying my best to convince them to be in it for the long haul, even though I'm not. But this is kind of personal. I've lived this 34 years in Grant County, folks. I've lived through this too many times. One more story. Worked at the SO before I retired. Had to call 5 people and tell them they were losing their jobs. Worst time in my career. I'll never forget that. Never forget it. 2 of them were in the academy because of dire straits. I'll not live that again. Not happening. So, said enough.
Thanks, Troy. Mike?
My name's Mike Webster. I think everybody in this courtroom knows me. Troy hammered on some things. Wasn't what I was going to speak about. I can understand why when somebody says that jail and I jump up, they can feel I was fixing to be passionate. I think each and every person in here has a right to be pissed, but you need to know where to be pissed. You need to start your legislature. The jails haven't got a raise for 30-some years. Last year they got their first raise in 30-some years. Department of Corrections has on their website, Jackie, what is it, $80 a day, 60-something? What it costs for them? It's $60 to $80 a day. We can go get the state inmates. This jetter can bring them right in here. But here's the problem. You only make X amount of dollars, right? So if you don't vet them, and when I say vet them, that's research real hard, and that takes employees, you're going to lose your money before you even get them here. You start losing money the day you say, I'll take them. When you talk about business, that's not a good business plan, is it? But that's a service. Next thing, you got the feds that come in. The feds say, well, we don't care about your money. Grant County, I don't care how much money you got. We want this kind of medical care. We don't even care that you got that kind of medical care at your hospital for your free people. but you need to do it. And there's no avenue for us to fight that either. You say, let's just have county inmates. I'm all for that too. The problem is the state doesn't allow that. Two ways they don't allow it. The only way you could do it is close that jail down, right? And put you at county only. But then you got to hire somebody to haul them. And you can't even house your county inmates that you're jailed in because you need the same amount of people. And then if they want to put somebody in there, they're going to put them in there. And then, hey, they go to court, now they're a state inmate. Guess what happens? Nothing. They're going to be in your jail. And that jail's going to fill up and fill up. There's jails that have, Louisville's one of the biggest jails in the state, and they house no state inmates. If you get on the computer and look, see how many state inmates they have right now. And they've been in lawsuits with the state. The state says it ain't even a good place for them to be. Guess where they are? You talk about COVID. The only thing this county has, and unfortunately, the one thing that gets hit the hardest whenever we do cuts is the employees. We're not a very big county, not very big at all. The people that work here, that provide the service, that's the one investment this county has that they should take care of. But that's the first place we cut. Just like when we go after taxes, they come after our pocketbooks, right? Same thing on this end. So there's got to be a balance. And I'm not up here to pat anybody on the back and say this is what we need. What I want you to understand is I'm against paying taxes too. But unfortunately, we need certain services. I'm against how them are funded. It starts at the state. We got legislators. We see them when they won't vote it in. I mean, I've been an elected official. Some of them won't even answer the phone when you call, and you're supposed to be on a, speed dial with them. They don't want to talk about it, especially if you're working in a jail. They'll talk to the sheriff when they need help with a speeding ticket or something. But other than that, they ain't going to talk to him either because he wants something. So thank you guys so much for being out here speaking up. But think about it later on down the road. Ask the state, the governors, the legislators. They're the ones that have some of that money that's not coming back to us. That's all I had to say. I didn't want to get on the soapbox.
There was an article that I saw, and I can't tell you where it was at. Kentucky has record surpluses. Okay, why couldn't we deal with the unfunded mandates? The unfunded mandates with record surpluses. Now, I can't confirm that. I just read that someplace. But let's say that's true. I think it is, by the way. Why are we handing down unfunded mandates?
Troy, I met a lady over the weekend who's a major with the Department of Corrections for the state in classification of female prisoners. And she told me right up front, she said, we're losing money in the state prison so much every day. And I said, really? I said, I thought the Department of Corrections was in good shape. She said, we're $60 million in the hole in Department of Corrections. And she said, but you'll never see that published. Yeah. And she said, said we can't get employees. The overtime is killing us. Classification and inmates. And the other side of Department of Corrections and the AOC is releasing inmates faster than we can keep them to do anything. Same thing we're facing at our jail. But it was shocking to me that she came out and she said, we're $60 million in the hole. And she said, but you'll never hear that publicized because they're bragging how much money they have. Record surpluses. And also the Blue Oval that's supposed to be bringing in all this money that we put $220-some million in of your tax money. The Blue Oval's at a standstill. And their other battery plant for their so-called electric vehicles has been shut down. It's not going to happen. So every time we go to a conference, every time we go to any kind of event for a magistrates or judge execs or county officials, we are on these legislators. We beg them. What can you do to help us? Here's our situation. And
I mean, they even had a jail strike task force.
Yeah.
initiated this year. It was probably one of the most active legislative sessions, but it did not produce any financial relief. But
Just real quick, my name's Bobby Webb. I work part-time with the sheriff's office. There's times when we have juveniles that the judges say, you got to take them to the juvenile facilities. Well, fortunately, they reopened Campbell County, but we was having to go to Moorhead and drop juveniles off and then go back the following week and pick them up for court. That takes at least 2 deputies, gas, their salaries to go pick them up, and then the county gets hit with housing that juvenile. So there's an expenditure. And when we have court sometimes there's district court, sometimes we have circuit court, and sometimes we have family court. Now that's not every day, but you don't know when that judge is going to schedule a court date until you go in on Monday, and then there you go. Oh, well, Judge Knight's got a 1 o'clock hearing on Wednesday, when it's not her court week to have court, but she's had something that comes up, and we got to have people there in the courtroom. So there's a lot to the court system or the AOC on spending money that we have no control over. If that judge says, hey, you take them, I don't care, to Tennessee border and house one, we got to do what the judge tells us to do. But there is a lot of money being spent, even on juveniles. And fortunately, like I said, Campbell County has opened back up. They're taking the males, but they're not taking females. Knock on wood, we very seldom ever have to take a female. And I believe if we do have to take a female, I think we're allowed now to take them to Lexington. They have got a big juvenile facility up there. But that's just another expenditure that the courts put on us and the county to provide a service.
Thank you, Bobby. Anyone else?
My name is Mark Manis. I'm a resident of Grant County since 1998, and I work at Grant County High School. I want to say first, I applaud all the workers in Grant County, especially those in the jail, those in the police. You have a job that you don't get enough respect. I fully respect what you guys do, and without you, we would be in chaos. The reason why I'm up here is I wanted to ask specifically, can you give me 3 things that you're looking at specifically to generate funds? I heard about the ambulance district, that's one thing. But I'd like to know specifics so that when you do meet on these things, that we can attend again to have a voice so that we know that this occupational tax is not going to be long term. Thank you.
The 3 forms, I'll give you 3 forms right off the bat. One is the ambulance tax. The other is a restructure of the business license. There's several formats that could be done in. And then we're looking at other fees that could be put on towards tourism areas. So, those are some of the 3 right off the bat.
And the proposal of a net profit tax, which would be something we haven't seen.
Which is part of the business
Yes,
license
okay.
type tax
Yes.
restructures.
Yeah, well, but then, well, and then on the flip side of it, then you have, okay, if that's not, then occupational tax. And so that's because we do have a lot of small businesses that don't contribute to the occupational tax. So maybe just another revenue to the judge's point is maybe it's the business license that's changed versus.
Yeah, not quite the net profit.
Right.
And we've talked, me and Colton, I know Peggy's been in the conversation of a restructure of business license. What, a business license?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, but when folks are asking for other revenues, that is one. Aren't there how many counties have?
70 counties have a net profit.
Yeah, 70 counties out of 120 counties have a net profit stream coming in, not just occupational tax.
We will.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
We do.
No, it is not.
But on the other hand, as I said, those counties that have a lower payroll tax, they've implemented the insurance premium tax.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Well,
And here's the problem there with that is you'll have a cap.
you don't have a cap,
There isn't.
not on insurance premium.
Well, if City of Crittenden's
No.
charging 9%.
Oh, yeah, that
If
way.
City of
yes.
Crittenden's charging 9%, which I believe they are, and the
Yes.
cap is 10%, we're only allowed to collect 1%.
In the
That's
city
it.
of Crittenden.
Am I correct, Rod, in saying that on the insurance tax, I pay one in Dry Ridge right now?
Yes.
Property is located in the business. My home is in the county, so I would pay the full amount in the county, but I'm not paying.
That's correct. Yeah,
Exactly.
everything in that
Yeah, you're correct
incorporated
there.
area.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we're looking at that as well.
Well, and one thing.
I'll be honest with you, I wish we didn't have a payroll tax at all. It makes me sick. It really does. It makes me sick
Well,
that we have people trying to feed their families, especially in this economical times. You know, it's just,
I mean, I agree with what the deputies are paid for housing jail. There's no way I would do one of those jobs for what they pay.
there's no way that, you know, for Troy to be able to retain employees at the jail is a godsend. I mean, we have some folks that are truly dedicated over there. There's no doubt, he just said it. That's a thankless job, regardless. But yeah, we are looking at an insurance premium tax. We're looking, what would it bring? You know, so we're doing research on that. What would it bring in if we was to? Exactly.
And it does, but then the institutions, the municipalities that already have it enacted, they're the ones that are generating what you would think the whole revenue stream is. The county wouldn't benefit from it. When we looked at that, what was it, 7 or 8 years ago, it would have only generated at that time, I want to say like 300 or 400. It was like less than $500,000 that it would generate because the municipalities already have it enacted into that 10% cap. The other portion of insurance premiums is there's a lot of uninsured folks that are still driving automobiles, and so it's not when we did did some of the research years ago, it just was not what you thought it would generate. Not that we're still not looking at it, but mostly because of the cap that the municipalities already have it enacted.
You take folks that have land, that have bought land, they don't live here, they live out of state or live wherever, and they buy land and they've paid cash, it's just an investment for them. They're not going to insure it, right? So we're not getting any money off of it. But at the same time, do what?
Yeah, so it's
Right, liability insurance. I mean, if I own the land, I'd want some kind of insurance on it if somebody trespassed or whatever, because even if they're trespassing, they're going to sue you if they get hurt.
You're probably not. That's well, and it just wasn't. There were too many loopholes or uninsured folks that did not benefit.
You're in the business, you know.
Yeah. Right, but Keith, what they don't have is larger municipalities that have it enacted. That's the puts.
Right.
But it's worth looking at. You can take in consideration the amount.
Well, we are, Colton has talked to the Department of Insurance. So, I mean, those things we're already looking into. We just need to see what actually it will generate.
You know, the city of
Today,
Crittenden
an
has the
updated
largest
figure.
population of anybody over any of the cities. And they have nothing to offer. I mean, they just, They got a lot of money in the bank.
Get up, get on. I know, you have a 6 o'clock meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, fire away.
Go ahead, Debbie.
Sorry.
She says she has a 6 o'clock meeting.
I got to go to Williamstown at 6 o'clock, so I got to get this quick.
Okay.
Debbie Angel with Gray County News. I just have 3 questions that I wanted to get clarification on. The first one is the ambulance taxing district. That's what, 10 cents per 100?
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
highest it could
Yes,
be.
that's
the
a cap on
maximum.
that.
How does that, because that would hopefully help the occupational tax go down. How would that balance out?
Well, I mean, today we're paying close to, in this upcoming budget, close to $700,000. But one benefit of that equally will be to anyone that lives in the cities. If they have implemented any type of fees or tax for their coverage, the proposal, when we get the latest copy, would be for countywide, which would not only alleviate your county general fund, but that mechanism should also alleviate city funds as well in our municipalities in this county.
But it would bring in more than the 700,000.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
yes. I'm saying on our, what matters to
Our
us up here.
contribution.
Yes.
Yes.
And with the
Our-
city of Williamstown, it's on our utility bills in Williamstown for an ambulance fee.
Theirs is a little over 300,000
Those
or
are, yeah, because it
Three-
was like 404, now it's like 3-something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So another clarification, the line item budget, I'm still working on understanding all that. But, so if a department needs a change, they come to you. Do you then come to the fiscal court and have it approved?
I'm not quite understanding. If someone needs to purchase something out of a line item budget,
So if it's within that line item, that amount, then you can approve that. But
yeah, well, the actually elected official approves that.
But if it's over that, that's when it has to come before the fiscal court.
No, it would only come back to fiscal court if we needed to transfer. There's not enough funds in that line item, and
That's
they
what I'm
need to
saying, if it
transfer
exceeds
it
that
from one of the
line.
other line items in their budget, then it would come back for approval for transfer.
Okay, so as long as it's within the amount on that line item, you can do that. But if it's above that, then it has to come to the fiscal court.
Yeah, because when all the department heads and elected officials sat down with us during the budget, we earmark things in line item for data. If their programs and all the expenses and services under the data is 10,000, that's already been pre-approved. We approve it when we approve the budget. So that's what they spend that line item for.
Yeah, but anything that exceeds that line item, that's when it has to come to the court.
Yes, if it needs to be transferred from another line item like vehicle maintenance, because they're $100 short, it would come back to the court.
Yes, okay. I just want to make sure, because I thought that's the way it was, but I just want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay, and then the tourism, the 97% is restricted, the 3% is not, though, right? The 3% goes into the general fund?
That's for the 3% that's held by the county is our fee for collection, and that's the most we can charge tourism
And it goes
currently.
into the
General
general
fund,
fund to be
that's
used
correct.
as you guys see fit?
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Thanks, guys.
Well,
Thanks, Debbie.
oh, Gene?
I would like everybody in this room to take blame for all of this, some themselves, because we have people that don't vote, don't go to the poll. Grant County's got one of the lowest percentages in any poll that goes, any election. The people don't go out and vote. So you get stuck with people that have been. I'll say one guy, Senator Slayer. He's been in so long, he should have been gone ages ago. Nobody goes and votes. We need to do that. Find out what's going on. Always wait till something goes wrong, then everybody gets mad. I'm sorry. Your meeting, can you do it in the newspaper, just partially? Some highlights of what's going to be.
Well, it's on actually internet. Anybody that has access, obviously most people.
But they don't know it. That's what I'm saying. It's not getting out there.
Well, I mean, it's been
School
out there
board
for
has the same
4+ years, at least this governing body. And the newspaper reports on the meetings actively. Debbie's here on almost every meeting, and if she can't be here, she watches the
Yeah.
recording to do an article.
But it's during the meeting. I'm talking about before the meeting. I'm saying that we need to learn to look at what's going on around us. We stick our head in the mud, say, well, that don't have nothing to do with me. It does. We got one of the biggest president's fights coming up right now. A lot of people don't care. Literally don't care. We got to start caring. This is the county we live in. We got to back the county up. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Gene.
Sure.
Really don't want to be here tonight. I was at work. I do agree with Gene. I had to leave work early to get here on time.
Could you give the court your name so we can get
Yes. My name is Matt Brown. I actually work at Toyota in Georgetown, but although this will not directly affect me, it does affect my wife, and I'm here on her behalf.
Okay.
This won't affect her, even if it is passed, because we've decided that if it is passed, she'll just be moving her employment to another county, just like a lot of our school staff has here recently. We've got a lot of openings at the school. Every time I ask a teacher or principal why they're leaving, they found another job elsewhere paying more, and why not go get something better. Not only will they welcome her with more pay, but they'll take less of her pay. To make sure the facts are correct, the proposal is a raise from 1.5 to 2.5.
That's correct.
Compared to others, will be the highest rate in the state. And if I had time to compare us to other states, I would have, but I didn't. Because I would really think this would be embarrassing to the court to be the highest rate in the state to our county. Fayette County is actually at the highest right now, 2.25. Boone County is lower than us. Jefferson, which is Louisville, is lower than us. Some of the biggest counties in the state. We're going to be the highest taxed. When is enough? Is the next time going to be 4, 5, 6? Is this going to be an ongoing thing? Will there be another time that this comes up that it wasn't enough and you decide to want more?
I hope not.
Lake Weemstown project money. Where did that go? I know we got grants from the state.
The counties, the lake itself is the city of Weemstown. So any grants that would be received on the lake would be through the city of Weemstown.
Wouldn't be through this governing body.
Yeah.
With the economic growth in the county, the ARC's brought more businesses. I know we got 3 additional hotels. I don't know if we get anything off B&Bs, but I know we got a lot more of them. I would figure that if you raise this, that workforces would be fleeing to other counties to avoid it, just like a lot of our school staff and my wife. I'm sure people would think it's probably pretty mad already, and will probably just flee to other counties searching for other employment. I know you all might see it as 1%, but they see it as we're the highest tax county in the state. Why stay?
And if I could just correct, the highest payroll tax rate at the moment, but not the highest taxes, because like I said, there's taxes that we're not even charging for.
There's 47 counties in the state that have insurance tax. That leaves, 73 other counties that's surviving without it.
And 70 that have the net profit tax.
Net profit tax, yes. Owen County has no tax. Somehow they managed because I guess they value their funds, use it more wisely.
They have insurance premium tax, Owen County does.
Insurance tax is just a tax on the insurance they pay.
On their auto and their home.
You believe it would be more than what we gain on occupational tax? 6,500 jobs you said was in the county?
It would, I don't think.
No.
6,500 in Grant County. Boone County has nearly 80,000 people working in Boone County that pay payroll tax.
I just figure there's some neighboring counties to us, to the east and west of us, that's not near interstate, don't have an arc encounter, major attractions. And somehow we're more fortunate than them, and the county's relying on its community to get them out of this mess. And sure, it aggravates a lot of us in this community. It is the county employees, the teachers, the principals, the officers, they're getting taxed the same thing.
Right.
There's some businesses in the past that we thought was coming here, like Love's Truck Stop on Barnes Road. Was that supposed to happen or had intentions of happening?
It didn't happen. That's in the city of Williamstown.
Did they block it?
I don't know. I wasn't on the city council. I don't know the full details.
I know some businesses in the past try to come here, and it seems like the county makes it hard on them. We should be influencing economic growth, stability, not pushing it away.
Well, I think this court has been positive to any positive growth. I don't think that we've tried to push any growth away, as long as it's positive growth.
Yeah. The taxes, y'all talk as if it's a fixed price, but it's a rate. So every time there's another job added, or Dana just got their 50-cent raise. Heard that in the last video, last meeting. They get a raise, so in return, so should the county, right? Their tax.
Hopefully, but it went down last year because of Dana's workforce went down last year.
We may not have increased in jobs, but between raises in the past 4 or 5 years due to inflation, I know some minimum wage jobs. I know when I was working at Kroger, it was $7.25 an hour. Kroger's paying $14, $15 an hour now. So, and them raises has come in the past 4 or 5 years. So that means the county's tax is doubled.
Well, but then the expense of doing business, the cost of materials, the cost of insurance, the cost of equipment has equally went up to the magnitude, because I agree with you. You would have never thought working at fast food you could generate, have that type of hourly income. But then on the flip side, yes, there has been occupational tax has increased some because hourly wages have increased. But then on the flip side, you've got all your other expenses of operating and doing business.
Usually when the math is correct and you have inflation, everybody goes up at the same rate. And if we get paid more, the road department will obviously have to be getting paid more because of materials and stuff. So if our taxes and our wages have went up, our taxes to you all would have increased. So it should match. the 1.5%, McDonald's have went from 8 to 14, so that means their tax would have doubled in the past few years, almost doubled. It just doesn't seem like the math is adding up. I don't understand it. I really don't want to be here tonight. I'm nervous being up here.
I think you're doing just fine.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Just everyone's struggling. I don't want to see anybody. This ain't even affecting me directly, just my wife. And I make majority in the house. But I'm here tonight because will it stop at just employees' money, their employee tax, occupational tax? Is it going to venture over to property taxes next? There's a lot of other taxes that can affect me. So if we don't address this, if I don't address this, then it might venture over to that. I just don't like seeing the community being pressured, and feel like I should be here and speak on my wife's behalf and hopefully help on their behalf. The MGP distillery up here could possibly be suing Grant County and Williamstown. According to tax professional Eli Anderson, the warehouse was a terrible idea and could have been stopped before it ever went in. And now, since we've halted the additional warehouses that they were promised when they purchased the property, until the investigation is complete, they seem to be wanting to take Grant County and or Williamstown to court. So is this a direct reflect on that? County could possibly be being sued by them.
It's in the city of Williamstown, the bourbon warehouses. So the Williamstown is the governing body that oversees that in the city limits.
So Grant County will not have any responsibility for that?
Come on down.
No.
Okay.
That specific tax, that actually county doesn't want to get even at all. This is a leasehold tax. So what you're quoting there is the city should have never gave them the leasehold tax breaks on the real estate side. The county gets a very small amount per barrel tax. They don't get the real estate, they don't get the tangible, the whiskey is protected by it. So what's gotten Williamstown in a mess is because it's in the city limits of Williamstown. And they proposed that. Now they want to back out of it because they found out it's a bad deal by actually looking at it. Now that's got to be a lawsuit. So the county didn't have anything.
Give him the mic if you're talking.
Well,
Basically, the long and the
Here.
Thank you. So basically, the long and the short on MGP is basically that's the city of Williamstown issue. They made a contract with MGP for them to locate in Williamstown because with bourbon, it has to be manufactured here or stored here to be that. So they're from Indiana. They came into the city limits of Williamstown. They gave them real estate property tax break to incentivize them coming here, but that was the worst thing that they could have done. So now they're not getting it on the real estate property taxes. They're only getting it on the per barrel funding, which is slowly going to start being phased out in 2025. So what they are getting is slowly being phased out until you get to 2046. So the reason why they're in a lawsuit has nothing to do with the county at all. County wasn't even included on this. The city unilaterally did a leasehold agreement that circumvented everybody's tax base. So that would be the schools don't get the real estate taxes, they just get the per barrel funding. Same thing with the county. They don't get real estate property taxes on that, just the per barrel funding. When you look at it, they're not even hardly paying anything on the occupational tax. They've got 2 people that are working theirs just unloading fork trucks. So we're not getting that on them. Then they don't pay business personal property because they're a protected class with the state. So the state has made laws where they are protected, so everything there, they don't even pay a tangible, where if you and I had a warehouse, we would have to pay what is stored in that warehouse. So because of those incentives that they gave, it's actually caused that. So really, they're not a good thing to have. And that's not even getting into the environmental perspective.
Yeah, I heard about the black mold and stuff, the side effects of it.
Okay, thank you, Eli.
Does any of you influence the decision on the roads, the county roads?
Any what?
Decisions on the county roads, any influence?
Yes, we're responsible for the county roads.
Okay. I live on a county road. I know there's a lot of them near me that's still gravel. I don't mind. It's part of living in the county. I don't like being too close to the city. How does the county decide what projects need to be done and what roads need to be paved, and how do we prioritize?
The roads are done on a scoring, 1 through 10, 10 being worst. And we look at the scoring of roads, and the ones that are scoring the highest is the ones that we try to get funding for to repave.
And we keep a running list of the projects that are in most need of attention. We also have a committee, the road committee. Magistrate Coldern and myself serve on that. We meet monthly with the road supervisor to prioritize, to share ongoing constituent concerns, observations, but it's based off of affordability of what monies we have available within our pot, but then also being very strategic and working with the state, because there's different avenues to get funding for bridges, for resurfacing projects, and so there is some method to the madness, but unfortunately we have several roads in this community that need paved. We have been on a journey over the past several years to address as many of them as we can.
Okay. I mean, the ones that's gravel, I wouldn't mind if y'all re-graveled them just to save on money. I don't mind passing them. The gravel does just fine.
Yeah, and we do. We have a decent amount of gravel roads in which our county school bus systems travel those gravel roads. So we do our best to keep, potholes filled on those, because some of them transparently may never make the cut to be resurfaced because maybe they're not through roads or heavily trafficked. But we do have, gravel roads in the county system.
Yeah, south end of the county, I rode a bus on it. So Mason, Cordova, Broad, Fork Lake.
Yep. And those are constantly on our radar.
Yeah, but I won't name roads for privacy, but I find it really odd and a coincidence, in fact, that the same year the son of one of the highest ranking officials in the county starts construction on their house, he also gets his road paved. Also a road, by the way, that has a bridge that is impassable by anything but a four-wheel drive. A road, I'm guessing, that is maybe 3 miles long, probably 6 houses, while there's other roads out there with gravel and or pavement that's destroyed. At the last meeting about this, I heard that about public safety, and if that bridge was repaired, it would be 0.8 to 2 miles shorter distance to reach the south end of the road for emergency services. In case of a fire, ambulance, it would cut down on it. Definitely, if they was getting emergency services from the north end of the county.
Are you talking Kiefer Lawrenceville Road?
No.
And that bridge?
It's not it. It's a back road. Got paved the same year.
Well, Dark Region Road has been on our list for many, many years.
I just thought it was an awfully weird coincidence.
Fair enough. You can.
There's also a resident on that road that would like to stay anonymous that says it should have never been done due to the high traffic and speed on the road now. And it's a hazard. is what he says. But he's in the country like me and expect people to drive as if there's kids on the road. It's one reason we like the country. It's slow traffic, less traffic. I think that will be all I had to say tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think Tabitha has been waiting.
Good evening. I'm Tabitha Clemens, your county clerk, and I want to address some comments made about voting in Grant County that we're the lowest, or one of the lowest in the state. That's not necessarily true if you look at our election statistics. We are very competitive with our neighboring state or neighboring counties. We have trouble competing with Scott County's turnout and Owen County's turnout. For whatever reason, those folks really get out to vote. But what I want to encourage all of you and those of you who are at home listening to understand about voting in Grant County now is that you can vote at any location. You don't have to vote at your home precinct. So if you reside in Corinth, but you travel north for work, you could easily get off I-75 and vote at Crittenden Mount Zion Elementary School. Or if you work in Williamstown but live in Dry Ridge, you can vote at Williamstown. So our locations for elections are Mason Corinth Elementary School, Williamstown High School, Grant County High School, Crittenden Mount Zion Elementary, and we have early voting for 3 days at the Grant County Public Library, which is very convenient for most of our voters. They really enjoy that opportunity on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday prior to our voting day on Tuesday. So voters can do that. We've also added the Grant County Public Library as a location on Tuesday on Election Day. So that's any election that we have, whether it's a primary or a general election, that you can have the 3 days of early voting at the library. Then we're open 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. at 5 locations throughout the county. And as a voter in Grant County, you can select whichever location works best for you to vote. Additionally, I want to add that by adding this and working with our legislator, the County Clerks Association was able to secure $25 million in election funding over the last biennium. We have spent almost all of that. Actually, we have a final meeting on Friday to expend the last $1 million of that throughout the state. Grant County was a big recipient of that funding through our election grants that we were able to secure with the State Board of Elections and the state legislator. Additionally, on top of that, when we started looking at, as a county board of elections, you have a Democratic member, a Republican member, the sheriff, Brian Maines, and myself serve on your county board of elections. When we started looking at how we could best fund elections in Grant County, with the new model of having the early voting and election day, we're now saving in election officer expenses $25,000 per year. Thank you.
Thank you, Tabitha. Anyone else? Hi.
I know I was up here earlier and I got on a bandwagon. I apologize. I got 3 quick questions.
Okay.
Kind of has to do with this. I think they're quick anyways. One, you guys are talking about other taxes. Is there an amount that we want to get to in surplus, or are you going to adjust them as we bring other taxes on, if we do?
Well, right now, we're just looking at taxes, see what the other taxes would generate in revenue, to see what the options are on all the different options of taxes.
Then I know I believe that there's a cap at like 3%, but Williamstown doesn't fall into that cap, and I know there's a reason, but I don't know what the reason is. I was wondering if you could explain that.
I'm not for sure of Williamstown not falling in that cap. Are you, Colton?
I'm not either.
Yeah.
Because they're at 1.5%, right?
Right.
And you guys are going 2.5%, right?
Right.
Which means Williamstown employees pay 4. Everybody that works is paying 4.
Right.
Where the rest of the cities would max out at 3 or less, right?
Correct.
That is correct.
Okay. Then the last one is the fact that we're here tonight because we didn't want to raise taxes, or is this kind of happened over a perfect storm?
I would say it's a perfect storm that's happened over probably the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Timmy, come on up.
I'm Tim Simpson. So, I've listened to all this, like the inflation number. What is our inflation number for the county, or the inflation numbers we're talking about?
As far as a percentage?
Yeah.
I don't know that we have it down to a percentage. We know that when we put out the bids on our blacktopping that they've doubled. So, yes,
Okay.
well, Bridges has tripled.
All right, and so what budget number makes the county work?
Hey,
What's the number, tax dollar number, that makes the county operate? How much revenue do you need to make it work to where you're not in the red?
That's your budget. Look at your budget, what we set the budget at.
So the $20,700,000, that's our budget for the.
Correct.
Well, and
That
sort of-
That's
Yeah.
the revenue that we budgeted for.
Okay.
The budget is a guess, almost. Some of this revenue is,
grants.
yeah, some of it's grants we may not receive, but at the same time, we don't receive.
So we never know from year to year what that number's going to
It
be.
can change every year.
Yes.
Depends on where we're at on certain things.
And projects.
The 20,000 can be very deceptive because there is a lot of pass-through within
understand.
them. Yeah,
I've
like you've
looked
got
at
a 1.7 Heritage Trail that's in the budget.
Yeah.
Well, you're never going to spend that unless you get the job to do that.
Right. That
So-
money's not, that money's not been, that's earmarked.
That's not cash on hand, that's a
That's not
grant.
cash on
That's grant
hand.
money, gotcha. I
Yeah.
just wondered what the number was, because
The,
I've looked at the budgets and the number, it fluctuates. I get that.
it will.
It's very fluid, just like inflation was our first thing we were talking about. I just wondered what the number was, and like on, like miscellaneous revenue. Who oversees the miscellaneous revenue? Where's the checks and balances on that?
The court does, and the miscellaneous revenue would be, sheriff's car gets hit, $10,000 worth of damage. The insurance cuts a check from the person at fault.
Understood.
We weren't anticipating when we budgeted that we would have a $10,000 claim cost of the cruiser.
Surplus, we sell surplus.
Yeah, when we sell surplus property, we take basically a guess that our surplus is going to bring $5,000. It could bring in $10,000.
And it can bring in nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, we're sitting back there listening to the disc, everybody's talking about different things. I'm like,
Yeah.
and I've looked at the budget numbers from 2018 to what the proposed budget's coming up, and it fluctuated. And from 18 to 19, the budget was 13 million, 13.7. Now we're up to 22. Last 23, 24, we were at 22 million, and then this year we're down to 20,700,000.
Yeah, and some of that was some of the COVID money, ARPA money that was passed through.
24 million year was the COVID money. And
Yes.
that stuff. I was curious about the miscellaneous number and who was in charge of it, because that's $500,000,
Right.
give or take, about 510. Just wondering who was in charge of that and how it's dispersed. So
May not be dispersed. It may not be revenue that even comes in for that line.
Because then we'd have to amend the budget on some of the things when unanticipated revenues come in, like the roof had to be replaced on the judicial center.
rainy day fund.
That was $180-some thousand to replace the roofs on it. Office of Administrative Courts paid for that, so they fronted us the money. It went into those line items
Okay.
and then paid the claim.
Well, I've looked at everything, and I don't have time for all the questions. You don't have time
Right.
for the questions.
I would if you want to come and see me.
Yeah,
I would be glad to sit down with you anytime and
Yeah.
go over every line item. No problem.
No, just,
Yeah. It is sort of deceiving when, how much of the real budget is the net budget that supports the county,
Yeah.
I think is what you're saying.
and there's a business formula for success for every business.
Right.
And it seems like we've struggled with that. I mean, Troy gave a very passionate, I agree with everything he said. I don't want to cut services. You don't want to cut services short for, the police protection. We have good police force around here. Good jail. Troy's done a great job, been there a year. But there's got to be a formula where you have to come up with a business plan for success for this county. Just can't keep coming back to tax. I know you don't like having these discussions.
Right.
And like, so at what moment did you realize you were going to come up short for this?
I mean, a few months ago, when we started noticing that the revenues were dwindling, that we were coming up with a shortfall.
Okay. I'm just curious when the...
I think one of the things that hit on this was, I'm not saying the jail, but we did implement quite a bit of a pay increase to keep, to keep employees
And to attract and retain them.
Yeah, we wasn't, we wasn't even, I don't want to say the jail, but we had to do that.
She wasn't listening.
They
and
do
you'll
a great
even
job
see
over
that.
there, and I know they're...
Well,
I mean, that will inflate, that will move your budget higher each year.
well, and that happened because the restaurants were paying more than the deputy jailers.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm not here about...
No, we weren't saying, we're just trying to explain what you would see.
I've been through it, and I've seen. I
Yes.
know what those numbers are. I've got them written down right here. So, and I think,
It's very tough.
Yes.
Because there's only so many revenue streams that a county can have.
Understood, but there has to be,
Basically, if you don't get the money, if the cash is not in the bank.
I understand.
And then going back, Department of Corrections, when they want to fix their budget, they parole out 20-some inmates. So we've based a budget on a jail based off a certain head count of inmates from the state, and then all of a sudden the state just tomorrow says we want
And you've
20
got to take
parole.
because of their...
Oh, no, they get released.
They get
And
released.
that's less revenue that you built into this budget
To the
that's
jail.
not coming in.
And therefore, where does the shortfall from the jail have to come from? It's got to come from the general fund.
Right. Those are the only questions.
Yeah, but
I want to go.
those
I'll give you a call.
Okay.
Give me a call. I don't mind. Book it. Yeah.
Anyone?
I didn't mean it. I didn't mean that derogatory.
Thing is, though,
I'm just saying it's one of the rises in the budget as a whole. Huh?
you voted on it.
Well, I know I voted on it. I'm not saying I didn't. Well, I didn't. Well, let's don't go there. I know. Yes, I had an option. No, I'm not saying it, but I was saying if you want to know why the size of the budget goes up each year, that's why. You have pay
that line
increases. Not just of that, of everything in the whole, that's what the budget would go up if you have pay increases. But it's an element. But, yeah.
David?
Point number one that I'd like to make, my name's Dave Rose. Lived in the county since February of 99, started our 25th year here. And I come to just about all the court meetings, and I've sat through a lot of years of court meetings. And number one, this is the best county government that we've ever had. And there's nothing really behind the scenes that's happening with this county, because if you come to the meetings, everything's right out there, or if you watch it, and I don't do that. But anyway, a business plan, government is not in the business to make money. The only way government gets their money is by taking it from us, the taxpayer. That's it. Unless you're Uncle Sam and then you print monopoly money and it's worthless. And that's why we have inflation where we're at today. Government is in business for a service, to service its people, citizens. That's it. And they have no control over cost as far as roads, asphalt. If you sit in and you listen to this, what they're having, the additional costs that are going up, you can't have a business plan. It's like going to Vegas and gambling because you don't know what inflation's doing. As a government entity, these people are sitting here trying to make decisions and they don't know what the costs are going to be. You can't use 5 years ago or do income averaging the last 3 years and say, well, that's what it's going to be, because chances are it's going to be higher than that. And we've seen that. And we see that at the grocery store as citizens. I mean, anyway, it's kind of irritating when I hear people talk about government, that it should be making money, and it's not. It's strictly a service to service its citizens and take care of issues that citizens bring up to them. And I just, you can go on the website, the Kentucky County website, and it lists all the counties on there. And I just pulled out a couple of things. You know, as far as property taxes go for 2023, we're at 11.5% on property tax. The average rate for 120 counties for property tax is 12.4%, 12.4%, and the median is 10.7, and we're sitting at 11.5. It could be a lot higher. Jefferson County is at 12.4. Yeah, they're just, you know, they're a little, almost 1% more than us, and I think they've only got a 0.80 or a 1.25 occupational tax. Jefferson County does. But if you look at the population of Jefferson County versus Grant County, you can't even look at our neighbor Boone County and compare them to us. The Sheriff's Department, and I'm going to hit around here, but the Sheriff's Department, the teachers, they can all go up there, up the road 20 miles and make a third again, or maybe, who knows, 50% more of what they're making here. This is really a proving grounds or a training grounds. Somebody pays their dues, being a teacher or a police officer or whatever, for a year, 2 years, and then they put it on their resume, and then they go somewhere else. And so they get their apprenticeship here, and then they move on. We love living out in Grant County because it's a rural community. Before I retired, I went up to all that mess in Florence and worked, but I came home to peace and quiet. And that's what we loved about it, and that's what the citizens of, I think, of Grant County, for the most part, love about Grant County. We don't want all that mess, and we pay our dues by going there to work, and then we come home to peace and quiet. And yeah, we can bring more business in here, but I don't think the citizens really want all that stuff. And then when you do bring the business in, and then you say, well, we're going to tax the heck out of you, why would they come? Anyway, I just wanted to thank the court for being a good governing body, and I'm very appreciative. My wife and I both are very appreciative of the job you're doing, and I think most of the citizens here are too. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Anyone else? Right.
Well, and we're not trying to be, though. We don't have the population.
Ma'am, come on up to the podium.
Hello, everyone. My name is Erin Butler, and I teach at the high school. And I just wanted to highlight some of the things that I've seen tonight. I'm a transplant. I've taught at the high school for 6 years, and I've been in other school districts, and I've brought my children here to raise in Grant County. I love Grant County. My husband used to teach at the high school. He's one of the principals, and he just accepted another job in a different county because the offer was just life-changing for our family. It was detrimental. I wanted all of us to be in the same school system. I want my kids to graduate from Grant County. I've had my kids, or I've taught in Harrison County, Campbell County, and Boone County, and I absolutely love the community that I'm in. It's a wonderful community. The support is phenomenal. I teach in the CTE department at the high school. And with that being said, we are in a teacher shortage. And being in the CTE department, we're asking for people to come from industry to come teach. That's a huge pay cut for a lot of these folks to do that. And we can't get valuable teachers to take that pay cut to come teach our future. And you've heard it many times that education is the foundation of our country, other than agriculture, because that's what I teach. But you have to have that education. We're talking about providing services for our inmates. And I feel like when I teach, 80% of our kids get looked over because they're good kids. What about the 80% of our people in this community, which are our students? We need to take care of our inmates, but we need to take care of our students. This is an indirect, it's going to trickle down to our students because our teachers are not staying within our community. We're getting, and I think Mrs. Manis meant 9% over 3 years that Williamstown is getting over the raise. That was over 3 years. But I don't think I've seen 9%, and again, I've taught here for 6 years in that, in the time that I've taught here. Our teachers are doing a great job. We provide a service for our children just like our servicemen and women. We are in the line of duty every day as well. And I ask that you guys to, think about that indirect impact, what we're doing for our students. And it's not just the teachers. It's not the 500 or so people in our district. It's all of those students that if we have that education, we build those relationships with our students, it's going to cut down with the amount of crime. And, it's just going to trickle down, and I think we need to look at the future of Grant County and not just right now. And this is even our bus drivers, our instructional assistants. It's hard to keep these people employed, and how do we recruit them to come to Grant County when they see you're not only not going to get a raise, maybe a 1%, but that raise is going to be taken away because we are also going to tax it 1.5% or 2.5% for the occupational tax. And I understand that you have to have money. I grew up on a farm, so I know that you can't have the money and spend it if you don't have that revenue. But if there's something we can do besides the occupational tax, I don't know. I just want you to think about those students and our children. And I'm going to be here in Grant County until my students graduate because they're invested in this community. And I know there's other people in this room right now. That's the only reason why I'm staying is because my babies, my 5th and, 7th grader, they have friends here. And the moms are the ones that are going to stay and keep teaching because I don't want to uproot what they have built with their friends and go to a different county. So I just ask that you all look at that and indirectly the impact that it'll have on our students and our teachers, and nothing short of begging. I appreciate all of you all, and I appreciate the safety because that's what I value safety in our school systems. I value keeping my baby safe inside that school building, and I just wish that we could have that 1.5% raise too. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Butler. Anyone else? If no one else, read in short form again. We're here on approval of the second reading on ordinance number 0004, 2024, 0271, amendment of the occupational tax from the 1.5% to 2.5% at this time. Before we take a vote, does any of the court like to speak? Does anyone?
I don't have any further comment.
Okay. I'll need a motion.
Go make a motion to approve second reading of ordinance number 0004-2024-0271, amending the occupation tax.
I will second.
I have a motion made by Magistrate Humphrey, a second by Magistrate Riley. If you don't mind, Jenna, can you poll the court for a vote?
Magistrate Humphrey.
Yes.
Magistrate Coldarn.
Yes.
Magistrate Riley.
Yes.
Judge Chuck Dills.
Yes. Moving down to item 7, old business. We don't have anything to report on. New business reports. I don't have anything this meeting to report on. See the magistrates this time? No. Any citizens, and I think everyone's addressed the court. If not, I'll remind everyone our next scheduled regular meeting is Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024, unless the meetings need to be called by the chair. Next meeting will be 4:30 p.m. here in the courtroom. I need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I will second.
Motion made by Magistrate Coldarn, second by Magistrate Riley. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
If you're all in favor, we're now adjourned.